Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Puck Drop by Jaqueline Snowe, narrated by Alex Mortensen and Louise Brenner. Chapter 1. Michael. There was something about the way the cold air smelled in the rink. It cooled my lungs and settled my soul. Standing there and watching the younger guys skate caused a pang in my chest because that part of my life was over. I wasn't a hockey player anymore. After my whole identity revolved around that for so long, it was like losing a limb. Without hockey, who was I? "Reiner," Coach Simpson yelled at me from a few yards away. His sharp tone had me standing up straighter, and I shoved my hands in my pockets. I could daydream about being on the ice later. I had shit to do if I wanted a future, and that meant starting my internship under head hockey coach of the Central State Wolves, not daydreaming about being part of the team. That ship had sailed. "Yes, sir," I said, forcing myself to look away and focus on the man who I followed around all last year. Not in a creepy way, but in an "I need this internship, please like me" sort of way. It was my second year at Central State, and I learned a lot watching the team last year. The stern man had a winning reputation for a good reason. He liked to win, hated excuses, and ran a smooth hockey program. A little gruff, a little charismatic, and a little intense. I couldn't think of a better person to shadow for my last year of grad school. "Masters in sports management, here I come." "This is hard for you," he said, no bullshit in his tone. He stared at me, his dark eyes and almost black eyebrows softening in understanding. His attention moved from me to the rink, and he nodded. "That'll never go away." "The urge to play? No, I don't think it will." I sighed and looked at the ice again. It feels like an amicable breakup where we still gotta hang out all the time. Hard to digest it, or move on. "It's in your blood, kid. You think I didn't call your old coach to get a reference? I don't accept just any goddamn intern." He barked out a laugh, and the sound echoed in the hallway. God, I missed the Northeast. The Midwest was fine. Illinois had all 4 seasons, and I could experience each one within a 5-day span. But it wasn't home. Every time I thought about it, I wondered why I chose to attend school here. I could have stayed closer to my sister Ryan, closer to where we grew up, where I had friends. Something propelled me to move away from all the memories, the good ones and the bad. That was the thing about grief I'd never understood until it happened to me. I wanted to grasp onto something just as fiercely as I needed to let it go. My past, my memories, the fact that our parents died in a crash when I was 20, and ever since then, every memory back home held a twinge of sadness. Here, at Central State, clean slate. It was like a breath of fresh air most days, but once in a while, a comment would take me back. Like "moo you." I lifted my hat and ran my fingers through my hair before adjusting it. Coach Simpson arched one of his bushy eyebrows, and I tried not to look smug. "I take it the call went well then. You're here, aren't you?" I grinned. "Sure am." "What's your take on Cal?" he asked, shifting gears as he jutted his chin toward the freshman standout. Cal Holt, often referred to as the Bolt, possessed more talent than I ever had, but the problem was that he knew it. I might have only been at Central for a year, but I researched the players, the culture, and the legacy. Even if I didn't get the internship, I would have followed the team because Coach was right. Hockey was in my blood, and always would be. I clicked my tongue and rocked back on my heels. Is this a joke? Are you testing me right now to see how honest I'll be with you? Or is this a different kind of quiz? You talk too much. My previous coach should have mentioned that, I said, snorting when Coach Simpson closed his eyes for a beat. My take. Talented, clearly. Fundamentals are top-notch. And? My shoulders tensed. There was something about his question that had me pausing. I considered myself pretty emotionally intelligent. I had to be as an alternative captain, or the team dynamic could shift. But his question felt different. I cracked my thumb knuckle in my pocket and tried to figure out what he wanted. He was no nonsense, gruff and honest, so his inquisition didn't feel like a trick. The truth was the best scenario. With as much confidence as I could muster, I said, older leadership could have issues with him if he doesn't open up to the team. He refers to himself as the bolt in third person, not exactly encouraging brotherhood by acting like that. How would you fix it? Fix it? Not sure one person could. I took a deep breath, the familiar smell of the ice easing the growing worry in my gut. Coach Simpson narrowed his eyes at me. This felt like a tryout. Shit, maybe it was. I cleared my throat and told my worries to fuck off. I knew my shit on the ice, in the rink, and if this was an attempt to see what I was made of, then I'd give it to him straight. I met his gaze. He needs instances where he relies on the team and vice versa. He might not see other players as useful, and until he realizes that, there won't be a good dynamic on the ice. And coach, he needs to be on the ice. Sacrifice my morals for a win. I would never say that. My ears heated, but the regret didn't last long when he grinned back at me. Plus, you're the one making the dough here. You decide that call. I'm actually paying the school thousands of dollars to attend. Quite different scenarios. He laughed and hit my shoulder. Good insight. Lesson 1 of coaching a NCAA hockey team. Once the puck drops, your job is done. It's every single little thing that happens between games that's on you. Sure, Cal can have the best numbers in the league, but if I don't create a team culture that fosters togetherness, those stats are shit. Yes, sir, I said, nodding and wishing like hell I'd gotten a chance to play for him. My body hummed with adrenaline, the urge to lace up almost getting me to the point where my hands shook. I was a junkie, needing my next hit of ice. I know you just showed up and never really left, but we do have to go over your requirements for the practicum. I need to hop on a call and get transportation ready for next week's away game. But meet me at Logan's this evening, 7 p.m. I prefer to drink beer if I'm looking over a goddamn syllabus. You got it. First drink is on you. Oh, you think you're slick. He grinned and pointed at me. Don't disappoint me, Reiner. I wouldn't dream of it. Logan's smelled like stale beer and peanuts. But damn, I loved coming here. It was situated in the heart of campus and was the perfect spot to have a beer and watch a game. Football season was underway, and blues and oranges covered every surface. Central State loved their football, that was for sure. While I was dedicated to my Moo U gear, I'd caved and bought a few Central shirts for team spirit. Competition was part of who I was, and I liked being part of a dominant school that won a lot. My phone buzzed in my pocket right as I got to the bar, and I sat on a stool and eyed the text from my sister. Ryan, how was the first day of the internship? Michael, still going. Coach wanted to meet me at a bar for a drink to talk. Ryan, wow, right up your alley. Do you love him already? Michael, shut up. I grinned and put my phone face down. I missed my sister and even her shy boyfriend, Jonah Daniels. They were living up their senior year back home while I was here, relatively alone. I scratched my chest over my central shirt and waited for the gut punch. It came and went as a cute bartender approached me. "Hey there," I said, smiling and forgetting all about home. She winked and tilted her head to the side. "Hi, handsome. What can I get ya?" 312, please." Her gaze lingered on my face, then moved to my tatted arm, and my smile grew. Maybe that's what I needed. A distraction. Someone or something to occupy my mind from the fact I'd be back in the rink and not playing. A distraction from reminiscing about home. A way for my mind to escape reality, because hockey had always been that for me, and I'd lost that haven. The pretty bartender wore short shorts as she got me a beer, which snagged my gaze. I was not prepared when someone ran into me on my right side, hard. What the hell? I gripped the edge of the bar to stop myself from falling off the stool as a woman put her hands all over my body. Hints of lemon and cookies washed over me, and a petite person cussed a few times before pushing long, dark brown hair off her face. Shit, sorry, wow, this isn't going well. No, not really, I said, reaching out to steady the girl. Her large brown eyes seemed worried, and a red blush painted her cheeks. She was cute. Small nose, big eyes, full lips. Not a knockout like the bartender, but still cute. Do you always fall into people, or is this a special occasion? She chewed on her lip, frowned, and looked over her shoulder. Her pulse raced at the base of her neck, and I followed her gaze, expecting someone to be chasing her. Why else would she crash into me? There were just a few guys sitting in a booth. One of them squinted over at us, and recognition lit up his face. I didn't know him, but Klutzy McGee sure did. Her entire body tensed, and she snapped her attention back to me. Hi, hello. We can do introductions later, but I need a huge favor. The biggest. I'll buy you a drink or two. Hell, 3. This is getting more interesting, I smiled. What's the favor? I need you to pretend to date me. Right fricking now. She scooted closer and swallowed so hard her throat made a clicking sound. She glanced over her shoulder at the guy approaching us, and her breathing picked up. Please. It took 2 seconds to think it over. She looked worried, and a protective instinct took root in my gut. Was this guy bothering her, harassing her? Did she tell him no and he refused to accept it, so she had to lie about having a boyfriend? Fuck. Guys could be the worst. You got it, Klutzy. Oh, thank God. She closed her eyes and moved onto the stool next to me, just as the large guy approached us. Fletcher, he said, his voice low and deep and weird. Her name was Fletcher? Interesting choice. She sat too straight to be at a bar, her spine like a steel pole, as she made a fist with her left hand. Gage? She said, the redness spreading down her face toward her chest. Gage eyed her, then me, and lowered his voice like I couldn't hear him. I was 2 feet from him, and sound didn't work that way. I rolled my eyes. I already didn't like this guy. Could we talk, please? I told you no. Yeah, I really wasn't a fan of Gage. Bud, do you mind? We're on a date, and I prefer Fletch's time all to myself, no offense. Gage winced and took a step back. He calls you Fletch? Was that a secret name for her that I shouldn't have said? I put my arm on the back of her stool, not quite touching her, but also sending a message to Gage. Klutzy McGee, a.k.a. Fletcher, reached for my beer and took a large swig. Her throat bobbed, and half my glass was gone, but I didn't mind too much. I couldn't figure out the dynamic between her and Gage, and I wasn't going to move until I did. I needed to make sure she was safe from Beefcake Gage.
"Where's Cammy?"
My pretend date asked, her voice gaining strength that wasn't there before. Maybe it was liquid courage, but I liked the way her voice sounded. Deep, smooth, no nonsense.
"Shouldn't you be talking to my sister?"
Oh shit, sister. What did Gage do? Fletcher's face hardened, making her petite features way more intimidating than I would have thought. She might have been frazzled before, but there was a fire in her now. I was into it. Gage paled and ran a hand over his face. It's not like that, Fletch. She's just wild. You know that. It didn't mean anything.
"This conversation is over."
Fletcher's tone had a finality to it. It had me sitting up straighter. If this doofus didn't march back to his friends, I was gonna be pissed. She turned her back to him, her left hand shaking, and I covered it with mine. I didn't know much about this chick. Whatever she was going through didn't seem easy or fun. Footsteps signaled Gage's departure, but I didn't care about him anymore. Fletcher was way more intriguing. She had long brown hair and large eyes. Her lashes were extremely long, which I appreciated. Girls with big eyes made me do stupid things, like pretend to date them at a bar. Plus, her t-shirt hung off one of her shoulders, showing off her slender collarbones. I had a weakness for those two. A trio of birthmarks sat right where her neck met her shoulder. So, girlfriend, we gonna talk about what just happened, or? I let go of her hand, and the strangest thought intruded. When was the last time I held someone's hand? I wasn't lonely, by any means, but a connection that went on longer than an evening? Damn. It'd been a while. Plus, her hand was so small and petite under mine.
"Nope. I'm going to finish your beer, buy another one, and give myself some liquid courage."
She did just that. Downed my beer and gave me the side-eye.
"You judging me?"
I would never. That made her snort, and she finally relaxed into the stool.
"You actually mean that, don't you?"
Absolutely. We rarely know what people are going through. Who am I to make assumptions about you for running into me and then making me pretend to date you without an explanation as to who that Gage guy is?
Sarcasm came out there.
Shit. It did, didn't it? I said, my lips twitching. She laughed, and the deep sound did something to my chest. It made me want to hear it again. Okay, you're charming. What's your name? I didn't get a chance to answer. Reiner, Naomi. This is perfect. You're both here. 2 birds, 1 stone, you know the drill. Come on, let's get a booth. I hate sitting on those damn stools. My pretend girlfriend had different names. That made her all the more interesting. But we stared at each other. Why are you meeting Coach Simpson? I asked first, already moving off the stool and trying to read her face. What could this chick with 3 names have to do with the hockey team?
Why are you meeting with my dad? She asked, her eyes wider than before. Coach Simpson is your father?
Klutzy, McGee, Fletcher, Naomi slid off her stool and walked by me, her lemon scent infiltrating my thoughts and distracting me for a second. The feisty, cute woman was the daughter of the hockey coach. Well, shit.
Chapter 2. Naomi. My entire face burned after running into, literally, the guy named Reiner. His stare was so intense that my nervous system threatened to strike, and my rational linear mind went AWOL. He was the most handsome man I had ever seen. And the tattoos covering his arms, I wanted to file each one away and study them like a spreadsheet. The dark blue color of his eyes was a mixture of the ocean and navy, and the way the Central State shirt fit him, the dude was buff. Very fit. Hockey playing fit. Ugh. My fingers twitched at the thought of sending a picture of him to my roommates. We could hang him up on the wall right in our kitchen just to stare at him every day. Totally appropriate idea to have right now.
Come on, I need a drink.
My dad grunted as he squeezed into a booth, manspreading so the hot hockey player and I got squished to one side. I went in first, holding my breath to not inhale Reiner's clean scent, and pressed myself against the wall. I had so many questions, most of them having to do with the great-smelling, gorgeous guy scooting next to me. Like, why was my heart hammering in my rib cage? I was logical. I knew he was attractive, but boy howdy, his body made my insides go wild. I tensed when his thigh hit mine, but he gave no indication that my touch bothered him. I swore I could feel his warmth spread through his jeans and into my very soul. Reiner relaxed and leaned his elbows onto the table, and it took all my effort not to ogle him, which, in a way, was uncharacteristic of me. I liked nerds. Skinny, unathletic guys who listened to hipster music and drank cold brew. The guys who hung out in the library and got excited over a used book sale. Growing up with a dad who coached hockey and a twin sister who flirted with all of the players, I stayed clear. Plus, the one fucking time I tried dating a musclehead, the dude played me. So calm down, libido. I cleared my throat, adjusted my leg so it didn't rest against Reiner's, and narrowed my eyes at my father. You asked me to meet you at Logan's to talk about the thing. This guy's here too. Why? The thing in question was doing stats for the Wolves and completing my junior data analysis project on the results. Our junior class was competitive and boring. As my advisor so kindly put it, I needed to stand out if I wanted to earn an internship next summer. What better way than to combine my ingrained knowledge of hockey with data sets? Plus, maybe it'd help my dad see that we had something in common. I'd been trying to get even a sliver of his attention for years, but I always came in second place to hockey. My insides twisted up with bitterness. The missed quiz bowls, the birthday dinner he forgot about, even though he made it up to my twin sister. Despite being 21, the baggage he created still caused a punch to my gut.
Always to the point. That's Naomi for you.
My dad's face warmed for a second, and he raised his finger into the air, signaling the bartender. The woman made a beeline for us so fast she stumbled, the stars in her eyes shining a bit too bright.
Hey, darling, could we get 3 312s, please?
Sure thing, Coach. She curtsied before she strutted away, which made me roll my eyes. I hated this shit. It was ridiculous how people put hockey players on a pedestal. Even my dad, a middle-aged man with a bit of a belly and eyebrows that seemed to have a life of their own. They were just people who excelled at sports. I was great at spreadsheets and pivot tables, yet there were no fans wanting my signature. Which was a shame. Data analysts could do some pretty cool things.
Naomi?
My dad said, his stern tone telling me he saw my reaction. We both knew my thoughts on how people treated hockey players like royalty. I raised my hands in surrender, and my face heated. Cammy was a dancer at Central and seemed to get all the athletic and charismatic genes from my dad. They watched football together and had inside jokes that left them heaving with laughter. Everything I said or did around my dad made me self-conscious, yet I couldn't seem to stop the continuous eye rolls when people acted weird about my father's profession. Sorry. He leaned back into his seat and looked between me and Reiner.
Thanks for both coming here. As Reiner so kindly said, this first drink is on me.
As it should be, Reiner replied with an easy lilt I envied. They were already buds. How fitting. My dad slapped the table and laughed.
You two are going to be spending time together as my interns.
Reiner snapped his head in my direction, and his brows furrowed as his tongue wet his bottom lip. I had to squeeze my thighs together to avoid reacting to that movement. That little dip of his tongue had me wild.
What are you interning for?
He asked, the deep timbre of his voice making me brush my hair out of my face. Guys didn't find me attractive. That was all Cammy. She was long legs and sleek hair and curves and beauty. I was not. I was messy buns and ripped jeans, small boobs and zero coordination. I liked murder podcasts and 90s alt radio. I was under no illusions that Reiner would ever actually date me, but the fact he let me use him to get Gage off my back made him all the more appealing. Data.
Data?
He repeated, making the words sound sinful.
What type? Excellent question, Reiner. She's going to help with stats for the year, and as my intern, I want you to listen to the reports and make recommendations to me. How would you, as a future coach, use data to make decisions? Sir, no offense, but stats are just one small piece of what makes a great team.
My stomach tightened like I was preparing for war. In a way, I was. Data was my version of hockey. Excuse me, but data is transformational.
Stats don't show the whole picture.
Then you're not using them correctly. I fired back, my lungs heaving at the confrontation. Reiner frowned and ran a hand over the back of his neck, really making the bicep bulge. It wasn't even fair. Thank God the bartender returned with the drinks, spilling some all over her hand as she set them down in front of my dad. I didn't even roll my eyes once. Point to me.
Thanks, doll,
my dad said, his attention already back on Reiner.
No one piece of data defines a player, sure, but trends are telling. Common themes, errors, matchups. This will be a weekly assignment for both of you.
I have to report my findings to him? I asked, the edge of my tone more intense than planned. My chest tightened. Well, there went my shot at a real relationship with my dad. Not the awkward holiday hugs and catch-up we seemed to do despite living in the same town. My mom's new husband and 3 kids kept her busy, and my dad was married to his job. And through it all, I kinda got forgotten. I cleared my throat and sat up straighter, annoyed that Reiner threw a wrench in my plan. I'm not going to be working with you?
You will, but you'll meet with him weekly.
Why? I asked, not caring that my unhappiness was clear.
Because it benefits all 3 of us.
My dad took a long swig of the beer and groaned at something on the TV.
Fuck, I put 20 down on Ohio winning. Oh, bad move.
Reiner craned his neck to stare at the screen and whistled.
Their offense has been struggling.
Football talk, of course. For a niche geek like me, this was a slow form of torture. Why couldn't we talk about true crime or 90s movies? I could rattle on about those topics for days, weeks if needed. I had the urge to kick them both in the shin. Maybe this is why my dad got along so well with Cammy. Hell, This was why Gage wanted my sister after I didn't put out.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?